the Cern has returned and he's bashing something. What are you bashing, Cern? You got anything to bash today?
I think we'll bash a few things today, Randy.
Okay.
Yeah, that actually might be a good theme for the slide deck today.
All right. Well, that would be fun then.
Yeah,
Because I'm having so much fun right now, it's hard to imagine that I can't have more fun. But I suspect that, you're usually looking for some fun in your slides.
I
So,
try to. I don't know how well I achieve that, but I aspire to make this a little bit lighthearted.
well, the
Yeah.
winning, the winning has been pretty amazing for the last 2 weeks or so. Even though we had all those down days on Tesla, but as you and I are recording this, Tesla is rebounding smartly. So that's more winning. So it's been, I don't know, it's hard. I have a smile on my face, even when I'm not smiling.
Yeah, that's good. As we record this, Tesla's trading at 352, so that's a nice bounce from what in the high 320s
Yeah.
a couple days ago, a few days ago. So that's good.
And Brian Wang just sent me a quick text and he said, "Hey, if we can hold 350, we're out of the woods here. We should be nothing but up and to the right." Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I'll take that. Yeah. Well, before we get started today, I do have to share with you my new disclaimer.
A disclaimer.
And I crafted this for your sophisticated viewers. So this is kind of written in kind of like Old English
I see.
language
I
because
see.
your viewers are very sophisticated people. But basically, nothing we talk about today is financial advice and all that stuff, right? It's
Yeah, yeah,
not
yeah, yeah,
tax advice or legal advice. Do your own research, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Here's one for the rest of us, the typical disclaimer. And at the very end, I'm saving the best for last. At the very end, I've got two other disclaimers for other parts of your audience because you have a very diverse audience, Randy.
He's so, there was something about thou art on the previous.
Yes, in the first one,
Yeah,
yes,
thou art urged to conduct thy own inquiries and proceed with caution.
that's right.
Okay, all right, okay, okay. Oh, pray,
Okay.
pray. You even want them to pray. Wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
and that's a big part of investing is praying. Yeah, particularly when it comes to tax and legal matters.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, here's the serious disclaimer.
Okay.
Everybody
Yep.
take this seriously, please.
Seriously,
Yeah.
seriously.
All right, we can move on now.
All right. Okay.
We're starting with this again, the Cybertruck photos. This is my own truck, and my daughter is giving our truck a shower here.
Yeah.
And no, it didn't catch on fire. The water was okay. Yeah. And my daughter really enjoys washing the Teslas. So that's been a fun father-daughter thing to do.
Wow. And looking across the street from you, you have an empty lot. You have a vacant lot.
Yeah, there's the mailboxes across there, so we get to see all of our neighbors every day.
I see. Yeah. And there's like, we don't have vacant lots in California.
You have to use
Well,
every square inch.
yeah, you use every square inch. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no lack of land in Florida. Yeah. Anyway, so that's that. We're starting to see some photos, courtesy of Joe, of the new
Oh,
Model
yeah.
Y.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, they look pretty sharp from all these different angles.
They do. Yeah. For an SUV, maybe you and I talked about that before, but it's like, I'm not an SUV fan at all, not remotely in terms of looks, but this is not a bad looking SUV.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm pleased to see a few, Cybertrucks in there as well.
Yeah.
Um, I think this angle is pretty nice. It's a sharp looking vehicle. I think it really, in my opinion, it's a step up from the existing Model Y.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's true. Yep.
And my wife and I own one of those. We enjoy it, but I think this one does look a little nicer. Particularly the front end. I like the new front end in this vehicle.
Do you think you'll be upgrading?
Not anytime soon.
Okay. All right.
Because as I've shared, our Model Y has been trashed, the inside and outside.
Oh,
Severe curb rash on all four wheels.
oh,
So I don't know that it has any trade-in value at this point.
I see.
I think we're probably best just to run it into the ground, literally.
Because those rims are real expensive to repair.
That's right. Yeah, I would definitely have to buy new rims if we were to
Oh,
sell
no,
it.
I had my Jag, not my Jag, my Volvo had, I really trashed the rims and I checked to find out what it would cost. I'm like, oh, gee. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. And then we're starting to see this, Randy.
Yeah. So do you have any
So is this
thoughts
the
on this?
performance version of the Model Y?
Are the seven-seater perform?
Mhm.
You know, I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
And it's interesting. They've got it covered front and back, and they've also got the dashboard covered.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if there's anything really that different about it.
Right.
Um, but that's great. You
Mhm.
can see the little reflection here of Joe's drone in the window. So that's Joe taking a selfie,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. I guess so.
But anyway, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And then, of course, last week we had the video about the vehicle inside, I guess, the design studio, and we had, a number of other vehicles in the background. I'm guessing this on the wall here is just a Model Y. It looks maybe a little different than the real one. And then, of course, I got the Robo van over here, which looks great.
Right. Right.
Okay. And then there was this image. We have a vehicle here on the right under wrap
Okay.
that looked a little bit like a Cybercab in shape with
Hmm.
no mirrors.
Yeah.
And then what caught my eye was on the far left of this image, and I blew it up here. We've got a golden color, maybe it's a clay model,
Uh-huh.
of the
Uh-huh.
Model Y,
Uh-huh.
probably. And then we have another vehicle, I think, here under wrap.
Oh, okay. You've been sleuthing.
Well, yeah, not so much, but it did catch my eye in terms of, okay, what else is in this building? Of course, we've got the semi over here,
Sure.
and there's probably a few other interesting things behind this black curtain.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Um,
because we haven't seen any camouflage vehicles being tested or anything else on this on the new uh low what do you want to call it? The more affordable car.
right.
Maybe they'll call it the more M the MA, the model MA. I'm getting tired of trying to remember more affordable.
Yeah, I think so they just call it a free car. That would go over well. That would be quite affordable for
Good.
everybody.
That's good. Yeah.
But that's what robotaxi actually will almost be at
Right, right, right.
some point. Yeah. So anyway, okay. Well, I was hoping you'd have the answers for me here in terms of what all these vehicles are under wraps, but apparently you haven't figured it out yet.
Can't help you.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's too bad. I guess we'll find out on time. Okay. So moving on to China and the new Megapack factory. There's a video that came out. I think it might have been even this morning. I forget now. Time has a way of not registering with me anymore. But they started building this factory in May last year.
Mhm.
It was just a field. And here we are in December, and it's completed. And they completed it from start to finish in 7 months, breaking their own speed record.
Right.
And this factory looks pretty big.
It does.
Certainly looks a lot bigger than Lathrop. And
It is
according to Tesla, it has the same capacity as Lathrop, which I
Mhm.
don't believe.
Yeah, no, no. Unless they're going to build something else in there.
Well, sure. Would you build megapacks and bots in the same factory? Maybe.
Maybe. Would you build battery cells in the same factory?
Yeah,
Very likely.
sure.
Would you build an unboxed car in that factory? I don't know.
And there's another building here on the back, and I think maybe another one going in behind
Yeah.
this, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's at this end, I forget in terms of the orientation here where it is, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I did notice when I was looking at this closely, they've got this artificial turf here to make this look nice and green.
Yeah.
And there's a little pile of dirt at the bottom, and they even put a green tarp over that to make that look green. So even for a simple photograph, Randy, there was a lot of work that went into
A
this.
lot of work. Yeah. Yeah. You got
Yeah.
you got the family all dressed up for the photo.
Exactly. Um, this is an image certainly inside the factory making megapacks. Um, it's a beautiful thing to see these things being moved around. They're pretty massive. And I guess the first one here is being shipped to Australia.
Hmm.
And I made an observation about this photo. Do you see anything interesting in this photo, Randy?
Everybody's the same height.
Well, close, not quite.
Same build, same, nobody's fat.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not focused on the people. I'm focused on what matters here, Randy, the
I
Megapack.
see. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I don't know anything about, no.
No, nothing, huh?
Well, I don't pay that much attention to megapacks.
Okay. Well, I'm here to announce on your channel
Yes,
that Tesla has a new vehicle. They've put wheels on the Megapack.
I see.
So now in the production and delivery port, they can report these as vehicles. They're probably self-driving too, by the way.
Self-driving
Yeah, and they probably leave the factory and go straight to Australia,
with that on there.
probably.
Wow.
No, I'm totally joking, but that you know, it would help Wall Street if these had wheels because then they could count
Sure.
them
Yeah, that's right.
as cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
They might actually understand the Megapack business.
Very expensive cars.
Very expensive cars.
Yep.
Yeah, Wall Street likes expensive cars. Yeah. Anyway, that was impressive. They're starting to produce these 10,000 Megapack a year capacity, which I think is sandbagging the number
Right.
massively. It's
Yep.
probably twice that, or it will be eventually.
Right.
Um, I have low expectations in terms of how this is actually going to help Tesla this year in their financials. I think that we're going to start to see a lot of revenue flowing in this. We'll start to see some maybe in the third and fourth quarter, but really next year.
Hmm.
Hopefully I'm wrong about that. Hopefully it flows quicker, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I'm always the optimist, but it seems as if these would ramp quickly. There's not the complexity that you have in a car. You're not
Yeah,
having to pass any safety tests. You're not having to, drive it around the town to make sure that it's working. You're not slamming it into walls to find out, whether you can break it. So it would seem like maybe this should be able to ramp quickly, and we might be seeing, some numbers as early as the first quarter, and then more and more in the second and third. But we'll see. Yeah.
we'll see. I think actually what this is an image of is the crash test for the Megapack.
And what it is. Yeah. Right.
It's slow motion. They're still waiting for it to hit the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, moving forward. This is kind of interesting. Tesla has started to install anti-theft devices on their supercharger cables. And
Yeah.
I thought this was a pretty clever idea. They have something called Dye Defender. They're stainless steel hose barriers filled with pressurized blue staining dye that explodes when someone attempts to cut the cable.
I like it.
Right. And here's some close-up images of the cable. It's a little bigger and thicker than what you're used to.
Uh-huh.
Um, and if you cut into it, it sprays with some serious force.
Yeah.
So it's like those bank robbers when they open the bags full of
Right.
money, they get all the blue dye on their hands. This is even a bigger deal than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe they figured out a way to stop all these cable cuttings.
You could hope so. I noticed that copper is at an all-time high. I don't know if
Yeah.
there's any copper in there, but if there is, then that's what they'd be after.
And the other unique thing was this is from Max, the head of their supercharging effort. He's saying just a trial. We're always exploring options. Supercharger cables also have property of Tesla engraved from our Buffalo, New York factory.
Hmm.
So recycling companies shouldn't accept them and notify us. So he's saying it's a scalable, cost-effective solution that doesn't impact service operations and customer experience.
Yeah, it seemed like an excellent idea to me.
Yeah. Um, anyway, let's hope that helps with this challenge that they're experiencing in certain areas. All right, let's talk about risk. And I thought Peter's article here titled "What Does Elon Know About Risk?" actually was quite interesting, and I'll just spend a couple minutes and take you through it.
Hmm.
Um, he says that Elon started two startups simultaneously, which were both considered nuts, yet both became wildly successful, right? And
Hmm.
people often think of, startups as kind of a dice roll, or a flip of the coin, right? And he's saying, I have a different perspective. right? And in Musk's case, it's considered nuts to try to use chopsticks to catch a 22-story rocket falling thousands of miles an hour. But information applied to the laws of physics proves that it could be done. And he says, I like to refer to this as the conditions necessary,
Mhm.
right? And so he goes on to say that Musk, um, so here, so what does Musk know about risk? He knows that risk is not randomness. He knows that you can formulate a list of conditions necessary for something to exist. And if none of it breaks the laws of physics, then it can be done, providing he and his team commit with the level of intensity necessary to succeed. And so he's sort of highlighting an important point here is that it may seem risky to the outside observer, but because it doesn't break the laws of physics, it is possible.
Mhm.
And that's maybe one of the unique things about Musk and the way he views things and business opportunities. To Wall Street people, they look at risk as randomness.
Yeah.
For Musk, it may be, well, it doesn't break the laws of physics, therefore this really isn't that risky. We just need to apply ourselves over a period of time and we will get there.
Yeah, I think I'm going to guess that based on my knowledge of you and some of our conversations over time, that this would apply to both you and me as investors, or in my case, in my business. Well, you have a business. I've started over 40 businesses, and every one of those businesses had a certain amount of risk. But there's also, whether you're investing in a company or whether you're starting your own company, you have the reward side of it as well.
Mhm.
You have the chances of reaching the reward, or what level of reward you think it's going to get to. And then you've got the cost of that risk. What's the investment side of it look like compared to the other side? And what are the downsides? What are the old uh, risk reward ratio and the downside of it as well. So right now we've got Tesla trading at, say, 335. What are the chances it goes to 200, and what are the chances it goes to 1,000? You can create formulas that would be totally out of the air, just like anything else, or you can create formulas that are based on assumptions that you're making about the company, and you could have a long list of the assumptions that you would use to come to those conclusions on that side as well as on the risk side. So I'm pretty sure that when Elon does this, based on my understanding, when he does this, it is mathematically as precise as he can make it. And with his crazy brain, it's probably pretty precise.
Mhm. I think so. I mean, Peter points out here, he says many retail investors have modeled the next stages of Tesla's growth, which is robotaxi and Optimus. The models show trillions of dollars in future cash flows with relatively conservative assumptions.
Yeah.
We have a good enough idea of what's going to happen 5 to 10 years out. But he says Wall Street looks at this and dismisses it as risk. Instead, they fixate on the present, relying on every conceivable metric, comparables, ratios, macroeconomic indicators, intraday technical analysis, and a host of other formulas. It carries an air of, this is how it's always been done, no further questions. A stance that disregards the scientific method. And we've talked about sort of the disconnect between Wall Street and how they're thinking about Tesla versus a lot of the retail shareholders.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
And this is our superpower as
Yeah.
retail investors. This is our benefit. Information arbitrage is really the biggest thing that we have available to us.
And I think this image captures it nicely. This is Wall Street looking backwards,
Yeah.
and they see, maybe little, slow growth or whatever they see. And this is the retail investor who's allowed to look forwards and think about, imagine, you know, the future,
Right. Right. Yes.
right? And so this is kind of a nice sort of image of what Peter is trying to say.
I have meant to use this before on my channel. I can remember several years ago reading about some of these companies that were hiring industrial saboteurs, not saboteurs, what do we call private investigators, going through the trash of companies. trying to get insiders to, paying insiders to give them information that they might be able to use. And so when you've got these kind of individuals who, in order to make a buck on the market, are willing to go do illegal things in order to get insider information so they can trade off of information arbitrage, then it would seem like a smart investor who wants to play a stock, who wants to not just buy the indices or go along with the crowd or something, somebody who wants to start stock picking has so much available. There's so much today available because of the internet, and especially with Tesla, because of channels like mine and others. There's a lot of information available that's completely legal.
Yeah. There's no lack of information these days. It's
Oh,
it's lack of maybe intelligence applied to it.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
In fact, I'll go one step further. I had over 400 clients, marketing clients over the last 17 years. Most of those owners knew less about that within hours of my taking on that consultancy for that business. I would know more about the marketing of their business than they did. In
Yeah.
some cases, I would know more about what what they should be charging, because they had no idea. They'd done no research. They hadn't recently gone out and done any management by walking around or looking on the internet to see what they should be charging. I generally would also know more about what they should be paying for the raw materials or the products, because maybe they were buying from wrong sourcing. It was shocking to me to see how little time and energy was put into by these owners in terms of becoming experts in their own businesses.
Mhm.
So to those listening right now, whether you're an owner or whether you are, and or you're interested in Tesla as an investment, becoming an expert, it just isn't that hard, and it pays off big time.
Yep. No, that's a good point. The other observation I would mention too before we leave this chart, this image, is that the nature of exponential growth is that even when something goes from 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 to 32, the liftoff appears very slow, even though it's exponential.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not until some later point do the numbers get really big.
Right.
But boy, when this curve really starts to get going, they get big fast. Right. And so that's the other challenge too, is as humans, we tend to look at things more in sort of straight line growth,
Uh-huh.
and we're not so good at looking at exponential growth.
Right, right, right.
And of course, as we know, Tesla's on a couple of big exponential curves.
Holy, yes. Very,
Yeah.
very much so.
All right, Randy, maybe you can help me with this. I am puzzled by something.
Okay.
Most people live in homes that look, not like this, but they have triangular shaped roofs. There's angles to them, and yet they look at something like the Cybertruck and they say, "Oh my gosh, that's an ugly truck." But to
Yes,
me, this fits perfectly and beautifully with a home like this,
definitely, definitely.
or any house that has any kind of triangular shape to it anywhere.
Yeah,
And yet, those same people, or many of those people, would say that this truck looks great.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yet, do they live in homes that look like this?
Yes, and I think that you've hyperbolized a little bit there, but I think you could have done a home or something that would have been far less wild and crazy and still made the same point. Yeah,
How about these?
there you go. There you go. Yeah,
I mean, if I have this white truck down here in the bottom right
yeah,
and this white house,
sure.
that would be consistent. But yet, how many people would like to live in a home like this?
Yeah,
There's a few for sure, but not many. Yeah, and the resale price probably wouldn't be that high.
it's true. That could be a problem.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe this is an unanswered question. Maybe I'll never know the answer to that. All right, let's move on to more serious things. So,
Well,
ARK Invest.
I'm going to interrupt you here. I'm going to say I'm going to tease this next show.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we're going to talk about ride hail in part 2. So
Mm.
let's let these people go do what they're going to do today, get on with their day, give them enough time to be able to spend more time with some of my other programs. But we're going to talk about this all week for 2 weeks. The big story has been what's going to happen with Tesla's robotaxi business. And I've talked to AJ, I've talked to, you know, Jeff Lutz, I've talked to Brian White, I've talked to Brian Wong, so many conversations in the last week and many more conversations on X, conversations I haven't been involved in on other people's channels. It is the topic. So let's start off with that on part 2.
Well, we have the answers, Randy. All those other guests, great conversations, but we have it figured out.
That's right. Okay.
And
So
I'm sorry to the folks that were listening to the show today that we didn't get to this, but I promise you the next time you see us.
you'll be able to find this sometime on Saturday. So Cern Basher, thank you for bringing me the first half of this particular set of slides, and we will check back with you in a minute and start part 2. So, and to all of you out there, thanks for watching, and it's been great.
Thanks, Randy.